Hi, my name's Dodie Harte. Lived up here in the foothills for about 40 years. Came from Modesto. I was a public school teacher. Then wanted to learn about herbs. So a friend and I, we started an herb nursery called Havasu Hills Herb Farm in the 80s. And did that for about 7 years. And then we moved from Coulterville. That was in Coulterville. We moved from Coulterville up to Big Oak Flat, where I was able to take people on native herb walks and teach them about making herbal medicines and using herbs for all sorts of things. Then we moved to Sonora here about 5 years ago and wanted to have a garden, but not as big as what we had had before, something that was easier to take care of. So this garden is mostly, well, all herbs and native plants. Do well in the native soil and don't use too much water and are easy to take care of. So I took the Master Gardener class in 2019 and so enjoy sharing this information with others. Okay, today I'm going to talk about 6 or 7 of common herbs that we put into this landscape. When we established this garden, we just took the native soil from the site and mounded it up because most all of these plants need good drainage and full sun. We dug a hole for them, put some compost in the hole, and then planted the plants, and they've done remarkably well. First one I'm going to talk about is lemon verbena. It's native to South America. It's a wonderful smelling herb. It's deciduous, loses its leaves in the winter. You can plant it in zones 9 and 10. It's somewhat tender, half hardy. I planted it next to this big rock here with the hopes that in the winter the rock would absorb sunlight and warmth and give that out at night, and I think it's worked. This plant now is about 3 years old and it's survived. The leaves are very useful as a tea or anything that you want to have a very lemony taste. You can use it fresh or dried. You could chop it up and put it in fruit salads, vegetable salads, things like that. You could also dry it, store it in glass jars, and then use it for tea later on. Anytime you're ready. Okay, this is white sage, Salvia apiana. It's native to Southern California and northern Mexico, or Baja. It is somewhat tender. I wasn't sure if it was going to make it here, but it has. So what the part used on this one are the leaves. They're very, very aromatic. It's used for smudging by the Native Americans. Smudging is where you dry the leaves and then put them in something that's fireproof, and then you light it and let it just smoke. And the smoke is thought to help purify the air, and so it's used in ceremonial purposes. Also, smudge sticks are made. You can make them from this. This is a little easier to use in the form of crushed like this, or you can make it into a stick. This is actually Great Basin sage. For smudging, the herb needs to be dried so that it'll burn. And you want something that's fireproof. And we'll light it. For purpose is, yeah, you don't want it to flame. You want it to smoke. And then, you see that? Yeah. And if we were smudging this plant, we use something to... Different plants were used in different regions, like the Native Americans in this area would use mugwort, an artemisia that grows wild, where sage, which grows in Southern California, was used by the Native Americans that lived in Southern California. This plant, Great Basin sage, grows in the Mono Basin on the east side of the Sierras. So the Native Americans that lived over there used this plant for their smudging. So important thing is when you get through smudging that you put these out totally. Okay, this plant here is Salvia Clevelandi, or Cleveland sage is one of its common names. As you can see, this was 2 plants, and they have really grown. They're huge. It's native to Southern California, and so it is somewhat half hardy. That seems to do well here. It's used a lot in landscaping, and the part that was used are the leaves. They're very, very fragrant. Again, some people I know have used it for tea. The insects love the purple flowers, and as you can see, it's really drought hardy. You'll see it growing in the desert areas of the South. This is desert willow. It's native to Southern California, Arizona, Nevada, and that deserty areas. It's somewhat drought tolerant. It likes, again, good drainage and full sun. They look kind of like a willow, but that flower is very different, very characteristic of the desert willow. There are other varieties with different color flowers. It has some medicinal uses. Historically, it was used as an antifungal. It blooms from May to October this year, so that's a beautiful flower. This is a variety of hawthorn. Hawthorns grow all over the world, different varieties. They a lot of times have these big thorns. There are some, they've developed varieties that don't have the thorns. They're a deciduous tree, very hardy. The part that's used medicinally are the flowers, the leaves, and the berries. In European herbal tradition, it's used as a heart tonic. The Spanish lavender, very low growing. They come in different varieties. Some are more upright. This one has a purple flower. Some have more pinkish flowers. Sometimes you read that this one is not as hardy as the other types of lavenders. The French and the Spanish, both are not as hardy, but it seems to do well here. We're at 2,000 feet elevation, so we don't get super cold. But again, it's another evergreen, drought tolerant, fragrant, but not as fragrant as your English lavenders. A little different smell. This is lavender, a favorite of everyone. This variety is Lavandula angustifolia. Lisa Marie is the variation on this one. We cut off the flowers on this one once already, but it has come back, so it's blooming a second time. All my other varieties Don't do that. Lavender's native to the Mediterranean. It likes well-drained soil. Again, it likes full sun. The varieties are very hardy. Time to harvest lavender is when it's in the bud stage, before it opens up, like these flowers. Well, let's see, find some. These, on this, some of them are opening up. The essential oils come mainly from the flowers, so there's more fragrance and more essential oil in the flowers, but there is some in the leaves. The leaves are also fragrant. What's really popular today is the essential oil of lavender. They get this essential oil by a steam distillation process. And it's good to buy organic, you know, nothing's been sprayed. And you can use that for potpourri, for perfume, for lots of different things. When you harvest the flowers and you want to keep them, lay them out flat on a screen of some sort and dry them. These are dried lavender flowers, and then you store them in glass jars, not plastic, but glass. They'll keep their fragrance a lot longer this way. These are still very, very fragrant, and they're probably 5 years old, but you could still use them for potpourri. Lavender has so many uses. You can make lavender wands, these are called, or lavender sticks. You have to use the fresh herb to make these. And it's nice to have a variety of lavender that has a really long spike. See, this variety here, the spike isn't very long, so it would be hard to make a lavender wand. But the other varieties like Grosso and Provence and other English lavenders have longer spikes. Lavender has antiseptic properties. You can put it in, it helps wounds to heal. It's good for burns. It's good for insect bites, mosquito bites. It can help take the itch away. This has so many uses and smells so wonderful. This is rosemary, native to the Mediterranean. An evergreen shrub. It's used all over in landscaping. Very popular for that. It is very drought tolerant. It loves full sun and good drainage. Doesn't like wet feet. It comes in varieties that are low growing and then those that are more upright. This has a short needle. The leaves are like needles. And then there's other varieties that have longer needles. So you may have a preference of which one you like for cooking. So it's used a lot in cooking, and also it's used medicinally. It had antioxidant properties, and it was thought maybe to help memory. So people would use it as a wash with their shampoo. So it's been used a lot, both for culinary and medicinal purposes. It's very beautiful when they're in full bloom. Some of them have a pink flower to a blue flower to just different shades, different colors. When I used to read herb books that were written by people that lived on the East Coast, they always said they treated rosemary as an annual. And they would grow it in pots and then bring it in the winter and protect it. Out here, we don't need to worry about that. And since I've read that they're developing other varieties that can take more cold. That's it. Okay, the next herb I'm going to talk about is thyme, Thymus vulgaris. It's native to the Mediterranean. It was introduced here by the early settlers. The Greeks used it for baths and incense, and the ancient Egyptians used it for embalming. It's a very useful herb. It likes sun, and it can take some shade, but it likes a well-drained soil also. and it's an evergreen. It stays green year-round. It's hardy in most zones. There are many, many varieties. Some that make wonderful ground covers that are really low to the ground. Thyme historically has been used as an antiseptic for wounds. It's if you use Listerine, you all know about Listerine, the mouthwash. It has thymol oil, the essential oil from thyme, for its antiseptic properties. So you can use it fresh or dried for cooking, and it's one of my favorites for cooking.